So very nice to have you back, Mr. Moec.
Thanks a lot for having me again.
Let's start with the hot topic. We are just 3 weeks in this new year, in 2026, but we have witnessed a lot of crazy things, from Venezuela to Greenland. But the question is, the market relatively stay calm. Why?
Well, Venezuela, it did not really surprise me because it's still a fairly limited shock, so to speak, in the sense that it has an impact on oil prices, obviously, but the impact is actually pretty positive for the world economy, with the exception of the oil producers. What's going on with Greenland is a bit different, because here we're talking about a conflict between two blocks, the US and the EU, which trade intensively across one another, who are political and geopolitical allies. And this actually should matter, because should it run its course and should the tariffs actually be applied, the impact on Europe could be significant. Now, the market has not reacted that much to it, although the equity market in Europe is down today. But I think the reason why the market is not reacting that much is that we still don't know how it's going to pan out. Donald Trump is going to be here on Wednesday. There will be talks. Interestingly, the tariffs are not live. They start only on the 1st of February, which probably allows for some discussions. We don't know how the Europeans exactly are going to react in terms of response, in terms of retaliation. I think there will be some retaliation, but we don't know what the magnitude of it will be. So, to some extent, the market is still in wait-and-see mode on that, see how bad things can go.
Specifically on this Greenland issue, how do you expect things will play out?
It's very difficult to know. I think the Europeans, so far, have maintained a sort of principled view, which is that it's a matter of sovereignty.
It's a principle.
It's a principle. There's another principal issue there, which is that we're all members of NATO, and normally we are a geopolitical ally. So you normally don't do that among allies. But I think we'll still need to see what the reaction is going to be in the US. Because what I've seen, it's early days, obviously, because the announcement came only on Saturday. But a part of the Republican Party in the US doesn't seem to be very enthusiastic about those tariffs to try to push the Europeans into transferring Greenland to the US. So there could still be some forces at play in the US, which could actually slow down the process, de-escalate matters. And that might be also one of the reasons why the market is so quiet at the moment.
Let's talk something about China. We have the 2025 China GDP growth number. The headline number is 5%, meet our government target this year. So what's your general comment on that?
First of all, it's quite an accomplishment for China to maintain and to achieve a 5% performance when actually the headwinds in 2025 were significant. I mean, obviously, the trade war with the US was significant. So that China managed to maintain quite a significant level of growth despite those headwinds, yeah, that's an achievement. Now, the issue for me is, where does this growth come from?
Export.
Yeah, exports, mostly. Seen from a European, sorry to be selfish, the way we're going to look at that is, yes, there's this resilience in China, which is obviously very positive, but it is so focused on exports that we still don't see the dynamics in consumer spending in particular, which would help our own exporters on the Chinese market. And this is probably how the discussion is being framed between the EU and China at the moment. I think on both sides, there's definitely a readiness, a willingness to try to do more business. So again, it's a very selfish European view into China, but it's probably the first reaction that any European economist would have.
But starting from the September of 2024, China has made a very significant pivot, the policy pivot to boost the domestic consumption. China has already emphasized that this year and maybe the next 5-year plan, and boosting the domestic demand is the top priority.
Yeah, I think this is how things are going to pan out. If you think about how Europeans are looking at the world right now, pressure on tariffs from the US, domestic demand being constrained, in particular by the need to sort out our public finances. We need to devote more resources to defense as well because of the war in Ukraine. And on top of that, we are losing market shares to China on some key products, for instance, in the car industry. So it's a matter of relative speed.
Thank you, Gilles. Thank you very much.
Most welcome.